Welcome everybody. Talia is here in Healing MS, and today I have with me, Mathew Embry. Mathew is an internationally recognized documentary filmmaker and advocate for MS patients. His recent directing credits include Living Proof, an official TIFF selection and distributed worldwide by Amazon Prime. He's also the creator of MS Hope. I have a feeling a lot of you know him. A free resource of information that shares science-based strategies to help people control multiple sclerosis. Mathew credits the creation and success of his work to God and the talented people that God has placed in his life. He's grateful to have the ability to take action and be a messenger and a conduit of truth and hope. Matt, I'm so happy to have you with me here today. I know what you do every day make a big difference in people's lives, and it's definitely my honor. How are you?
I'm good. And thank you so much for doing this and helping share the message.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely my vision and my message as well. So I think that a lot of the viewers know you and maybe have watched your movie or part of your online channels. But what about sharing your story from the beginning with MS for those who don't know you?
Yeah, I mean, again, thank you. I mean, it's been a long journey. I mean, it's been over 25 years now for me since my diagnosis. And, to give people the broad strokes, the real quick, the elevator pitch, so to speak. I mean, I was diagnosed at 19 with a lot of symptoms and, an MRI, which had multiple lesions in my brain and spine. And, I was very blessed in that my mother was a nurse and my father, a research geologist, a research scientist. And, the two of them went to work. My dad hit the medical library and, started reading other things. And there were some serendipitous events that led to some research coming into our life. And, we decided based on science-based strategies to tackle multiple sclerosis with nutrition, high dose vitamin D and exercise. And, I implemented it and, I'm really happy to share the journey that 25 years later, here I am and I'm 44 years old and I had a great workout this morning and, plan to go for a big walk later on today. And, I'm trying to share the story and get the information to as many people as we want. And I think, one thing I really want to get across to people is, it's up to them. We share the information for free. And I just want people to have access to the information. I know there's lots of ways you can go with treating your illness and it's up to you. And that's really important for me, for people to have the information, which is why people like you doing this type of stuff, helping spread the word is so important. We don't know who this touches and you don't know who the information might be really valuable to them.
Yeah. And that's amazing of you. I've been watching, I see that you do some lives and every time different topics and you're allowing Q&A and that's big. That's big because every person has, we know with MS, such a different experience and feeling unique and feeling special and feeling like somebody listens and cares is sometimes a lot by itself. So, yeah. Yeah.
And it's, I'm really, I couldn't have predicted how the documentary would have gone so global, I guess. Praise God. I'm so thankful that happened. And then with the social media channels, it's not that I'm a social media expert. I'm not. And I just try to put out information that I hope people, it helps inspire them. I think that if you're going to take a lifestyle approach to your health, to finding optimal health, it's not easy. And I don't like to sugarcoat it. It's not an easy path because it's so many decisions every day, deciding what you're going to eat, when you're going to exercise, when you're going to make time for prayer or meditation. Like all these things are hard. Like it's not, it's not, you may see, the pictures we put up are all healthy and all this kind of stuff. That's a lot of work. Right. And so I try to inspire people daily.
You absolutely do. But I'd love to stay there on what you just said, because I know that, knowledge exists today. It's not like it used to be before. There is a lot of information out there that tells us what's possible to live great life with MS. And a lot of people know a lot, but yet there's something stopping them between I know it to I do it.
Mm.
What can you share from your own experience that can support other people? How do you tackle this?
Yeah, I mean, if I have one piece of advice, it's educate yourself. I mean, educate yourself. I think, and that's what we try to do on mshope.com. We try to provide the information in the easiest way possible for you to understand it. Then if you want to go deeper, we have a link down below, which will take you to another website so you can really try to understand why we have these strategies based, or where the science is, or how we got here. And I think that once someone really, consumes the information, understands it, they will start to embody it. I mean, I think that is the key, because if you know that exercise is really good for you, I think you're going to do it. Like if you really know, and if you really know what foods may be helping you, I mean, I think if you want that optimal health outcome, those decisions become easier and easier. And I also think that, if I have one other thing to share, it's the power of right now. So if somebody's watching this right now, they can start like right now. Like it doesn't matter what you did up till right now. I mean, it may matter, but you can actually start your journey into finding the best version of yourself, like right now, and you can turn it off and go get it.
That is such a powerful tip. I often use it actually, both for myself and for people that I work with, because it's so easy to get stuck on the past, but nothing you're going to do is going to change the past.
Nope. Absolutely nothing. And it will just, I think that you gotta but that is a choice you make, right? Like right now, to be like, you know what, I'm living for what's the best possible thing I can do right now. And then if you just keep incrementally making those decisions, after a while, after a day, you're going to notice a difference, I think. And then after a couple of years, it's like, what the, not that we do the best, we're all going to make mistakes too. So the key is, how do you minimize those and maximize the good decisions?
Yeah. Absolutely powerful. Very true. So do you still experience any symptoms despite your choice of lifestyle?
Well, the only one that I would say, I don't have any neurological ones. The one thing I do experience is fatigue. And I am I see my body as a lab. So it's like, if I start experiencing fatigue, I'm like, okay, there's something I'm doing. There's something I'm putting in my body that I got to stop. And I think that one, and I get very clinical about it. And I start going back. What did I eat? What did I do? How did I sleep? What did I not do? How am I thinking? Like all those things, I start to, what things am I not implementing? And then I just go after it. Even recently, I've been, I had some fatigue. And I'm like, what am I doing? What am I eating? And it's like, okay, I've been eating way more dried mango than I have. Like maybe I got to watch that. Like that's too much sugar probably, right? I mean, it's high energy quick, that kind of thing. So I eliminated it. And, within a day, I'm feeling better. I'm like, yep, that was it. Like that was it. So then I kind of scratched it off the list and go, okay, maybe I'll come back to dried mango in a while. But I think I'm that hyper specific in regards to what I'm putting in my body and what its effects are.
Yeah. And I think that once you, for so long on a certain diet and you're taking care of your body and you're super aware of everything that's inside of it, you can start, like, small things can make a big impact, because your body is not that it becomes sensitive, but it becomes smarter. It's like, hey, don't do that because I know what's good for me now. You trained me to know what's good for me.
Yes. I completely agree with you. And as I've gotten older, I'm 44. I've been in this for a long time. Like, say, like if I get exposed to gluten, I know, bang, the next day, I've got some problems, right? And I know that's become more sensitive. Like I just know it. And so I think that as you age, you become, I can't speak to anybody else, but for me, I've become even more sensitive, and I'm just, again, hyper aware, and then not lamenting it, not being like, oh no, now I can't have this. It's like, well, no. It's like, well, no, I love my life. So like, what can I put in there now? More fresh fruit, more fresh vegetables, right? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah. So when you were diagnosed, the flare up that you had, What exactly happened in your body, if you don't mind sharing with us?
Yeah, I mean, it was like most people, sudden, shocking, right? All of a sudden, you have some neurological issues, and for me, it was, when I was kicking a basketball, and all of a sudden, my foot started feeling really weird, and it was, I don't want to use the word numb. It was numb, but also hypersensitive. So it was a combination of two things. So it's really hard to explain, but I was like, this is not normal. And then within 20 minutes or however, it came right up my chest, and I was like, okay, I mean, what is this, right? And then leg spasm started, and it became just incrementally, and then on diagnosis it was even more symptoms that I wasn't even aware of, like reflex issues and some of my eye coordination, I think, issues that I wasn't even aware that was happening, right? Like there's some things you don't even know. How do you know if you have bad reflexes until someone checks it? Yeah. And then that's kind of, and then again, it's like anybody else. I mean, you hear this story so often, people think they hurt their back or they have a pinched nerve, right? And then you go through that little phase and you realize, okay, it's not that. And then you go through the next phase, and then you go to the neurologist and the MRI, and all, it's a classic story. I mean, one thing I am really lucky is that they were quick to get me an MRI. I see a lot of people's journeys that take some years, right, before they get a concrete diagnosis. And that, I think, that's really unfortunate, I think. And it can really hold people back from, maybe getting after it earlier.
Yeah. So the reason I went there and I wanted to hear about the beginning of your story, despite everything that happened around your diagnosis time, once you chose the lifestyle that you chose, and I'm not going to call it a diet because it's a whole lifestyle.
Yeah.
Everything went away, right?
Yeah, it took time. Again, I was young. I was lucky. So when you're young, your body it's got more. I don't know. Again, don't hold me to this. I'm not a scientist, but I think when you're young, it's regenerating quicker. Things like that. I mean, I was lucky. Things started to get better for me. And then once, I felt like I was under control. I didn't let off. I just kept at it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm asking because I know there are a lot of people that I talk to, and I hear, it's kind of like they didn't try it, but yet they lost hope because there are already some difficulties as an outcome of their flare-ups or symptoms, and they don't believe. They're like, oh, even if I create a certain future that's better than today, I still cannot take away what's present, what's currently like the numbness in my hand, the difficulty to walk. And I'm like, hey, that's actually not true. There's so many stories of reversing certain things. And I love that you're sharing this, because the more people share their personal experience and how much better they got with the new choices they made, I believe that it gives hope. MS hope. It gives hope to other people.
Yeah, and again, I'm not alone. I mean, there's other people, there's Dr. Terry Walls, there's Dr. George Jelinek, who shared their journeys of of how long it took them to recover. And it's, for some people it's not overnight. It's not, this is not an overnight, take a pill and you're going to be okay. It's a major, I think with Dr. Jelinek, I believe it was 7 years that it took him to get rid of his symptoms. That's a long time. That's a lot of commitment, right? Yeah. He's a hero. He's one of my personal heroes of that journey. And I think that, over the years, you meet people. It's like, wow, I tried it. Da, da, da. Well, how long did you try? And like, did you try? And I think that those are uncomfortable conversations for sure. And I think that, that's why with what the message I put out, it's no cheat days. And it's if you're going to do this, you're on 24/7. And that's what I have learned in this journey. And that's what I have seen over the years of people who have long-term success stories. No cheat days. And people are like, wow, I want one cheat day. I'm like, okay, well, let's break that down. Like one cheat day a week. Okay. Just one, that's 15% of your life. 15% of your life, you're going to cheat on your health. Okay. Well, then do not expect to be 100%. Then if you're going to cheat for 15 days, you're down to 85%. We know that already. Okay. So that if you're at 85 and we don't know what those impact of the cheat days are, well, then you're only going down from there. So I hope I don't sound too severe on that, but I really, that's my mentality.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think there are a few ways to look at it. You can take all of it and say, and use it in a way that can scare you. And then you live in fear and actually, increases stress. And that's not good for the MS either, or for your recovery or healing either. So it's about how you tell yourself the story, I believe, how I tell myself the story, how each one of us chooses something that works for us. And if it's working for you, amazing. But that gets like understanding who we are and what our commitment is for.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think it's balanced from, I do think there's a balance there, because I have good news and I have bad news. Sometimes when I think about the world, I mean, the good news is there's so many things in the world that can help you. Okay. And there's so many people who can lift you up. The bad news is there's so many things in this world that will kill you. There are so many people in this world that will drag you down. Okay. And I think that you have to understand that. And I think that's fine that these exist, but I don't think we can be naive and say, okay, no, like the world is actually, there's things here that will get you. Like, you walk into traffic, you're in big trouble. You eat certain foods over a long period of time, you're going to die. And I think these are realities. So I agree with you. Instead of being scared of them, just be like, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to get me, right? Like you're trying to feed me something that's going to kill me. I got it. God bless you. Good luck. Take care. I'm not going to judge you. You got to go. And same with people. If they come into your life and they're going to cause you drama and all this stuff, it's like, you know what? Peace be with you. Yeah, I get it. But you're not going to take me down with you, right? And again, that's a daily choice. And these things are going to keep coming, even like the other day, can I just tell one personal story? Like I was sitting in we get mail. So, we're in isolation, all that kind of stuff. So I look at the mail more critically these days. And, all these like advertisements came in for like fast food and stuff. Like they came in and I was just sitting here and I'm thinking, we're living in a world right now that's everybody's health conscious. We're talking about masks. We're talking about like, what can we do? Clean our hands and everything. But at the same time, all this food, like this advertisement for food that's like high fat, high salt, high sugar, is like we're allowing that to come in. Like we're all good with like, if I eat this every single day, I'm likely going to die, Like this is okay. At the same time, we're talking about this other thing. I find it like, what? But that is where I see the world as like, okay, that's trying to get you. And instead of like being fearful of that, you just kind of go, oh, that's going to go in the garbage. And that's not going to be my choice.
There's a lot about awareness when it comes to that too. One of the programs that I deliver with a team of mine, there's a part of the program right now, people choose to give on advice. And few people chose to, it has nothing to do with MS, but just few people chose to give up on sugar. And then all of a sudden, when you choose to give up on something like this, you're like, wait a minute, it's in everything that I eat? Like it's in so many things that are not even sweet. I didn't really think that sugar.
Right.
And then you start learning. So awareness is everything, because a lot of people think they live on a healthy diet, but they don't realize, the amount of toxins they consume on a regular basis.
Yeah. And that's really about, sorry, my dogs are going crazy. Guys, Zeus, come here. Come here, Zeus. Sorry. I really think that is an important thing to consider, and how, Zeus, come here, bud. Come here. How you have to be vigilant when you're grocery shopping, right? Be vigilant when you're out for dinner. Be vigilant when you're making these decisions, right? And that's where I really tell people that's part of the journey, right? It's that discipline, right? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure so many people can relate to what you're saying. It's every moment can be a possibility to get off the track that you chose to get on. I love
that. I love that point of view. I really do. And I think that what I love about that is like every single choice is like a possibility to ascend, right? It's like to get better. And guys, please, I'm doing a podcast here.
Let's pause it for a moment. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so we were talking about how every single choice is so important. And I think, I get a lot of people who write me and say, what kind of MS do you have? Right. And I tell people, I say, look, I have progressive MS. I'm just progressively getting better. Like every single choice, I'm progressively becoming a healthier, better person. Not every time I make bad choices, sometimes with, things I say and things like that, but at least I'm trying. And I think that when you wake up in the day and you just start with those micro decisions, and this may sound like sometimes unloading the dishwasher first thing in the morning can be one of the most powerful experiences for me, because I'm like, I hate unloading the dishwasher. I hate that it's there in the morning, but when I tackle it and I do it properly to the best of my ability, I just achieve something. Right. And I just made my life better for me, for my family. I just did it. And I overcame that resistance of like, don't do it, just leave it for later. Right. And once I've hit the dishwasher, then it's the next thing. And then it's the next thing and the next and the next. And then all of a sudden it's like 11 in the morning and you're feeling like $1,000,000 and away you go.
I love that you just shared it. In so many places we can find that when you start your day with something that you accomplish, whether or not you like it, start with accomplishing something. You get so motivated to move forward in the way that you actually really want to, and not, when your ego is pulling you away from your commitments. So I love that you brought it into the space. That can be a great tool that really changes lives for people.
I hope so, because, one thing, I think about a lot is, you hear in today's world, especially for some reason, this has kind of hit the zeitgeist, is like, nothing happens, nothing is a coincidence, or like there's all these synchronicities and like this, and I'm really aware of these things. I think it's really worth talking about, but like people will often use the really good things in life when they start saying that. Or it's like, oh, this great thing happened. It's like, there's no coincidence. And I'm like, okay, yeah. But the bad things are like that too. Like no one says the dishwasher's full. What an amazing coincidence. But like, it's not a coincidence. Like it was put there for you. Just like the good thing was put there for you, the obstacle was put there for you. So if you embrace the obstacle with the same thinking and joy and like, I'm going to execute this, as you do the thing that made you seem like the pleasure reward or whatever, right? The good thing that comes into your life. It's amazing what starts to happen, because you're like, that's no coincidence the dishwasher's full. That's for me to execute. Right. And I think I take that approach. Like there's a nature reserve I live right by. Praise God. I'm so lucky. It's a lid I can run. I live downtown. I live in the downtown core of my city, or the downtown area. There's a nature reserve, which is one of the biggest ones, like New York, like Central Park, literally 5 minutes from my house running. When I'm there and I see a piece of garbage, that's for me to pick up. Right. And I think that as we as human beings, if we can get to the point that like everything in your observation is for a reason, for you are being allowed to engage. So whether it be pick up, a beer can, or someone leaves there, or it's doing this podcast, or it's, doing something kind for your neighbor, whatever it is, it's for you to engage in and to enrich your life. Does that make sense?
I mean, you're speaking my language, man. Yeah. I didn't plan to get into these kind of conversations here, and I love that you're bringing it. I mean, there is a reason everything is in our space. If it's not for a lesson, if it's like, once you choose to engage, all of a sudden a whole world opens up, a whole world of possibilities that now you don't even know what's going to wait there. But if you're not going to engage, you already know the result. You already know what's going to happen. Nothing.
Yeah, I get it. I totally understand it. And I think, I get real frustrated. I do get frustrated. I do, because I hear, especially in the world today, I hear things like, I'm waiting for God to show up. Like when, I'm waiting for I hear that a lot, right? Or you hear like, I'm waiting for this. I'm like, it's right in front of you. Like, you're just not awake.
You need to show up.
Yeah. Like you need to be like, well, look in front of you. Like there's something for you to do. Like, and it's right in front of you 9 times out of, or it just is. Right. And even in those moments of silence, and I think about like, if there's a lineup, okay, go to prayer, start meditating. Like you're being given a gift, and that's a break. Right. But I think it's that constant okay, reality's changing. What's it offering? What's it giving me the opportunity, and how can I engage? Right.
I think for people that live with MS or any type of chronic illness, autoimmune disease, something that really has a big weight on the way we perceive it. Acceptance is something that is blocking a lot of people between, like, crossing between where they are to the place you're talking about. Because we're constantly, because I luckily, like, that was part of my biggest parts of my journey. But once you pass that, once you understand there is a reason for the good, there's a reason for the bad, there is a lesson for me. There is a reason why I got this diagnosis, and it's okay. It doesn't have to mean anything else. There is a lesson, there is something for me there. Once you choose to accept, to just be in the present moment, leave the past, leave the beliefs, leave the stuff that's holding you back. It allows you to be so present that all the things that you're sharing are something that becomes something we can see. But unless we have this, like, ability to just be here, anything could be in front of us, but we're blind. We can't see it.
Yes. Yeah. And I know exactly what you're talking about, but it's really hard to communicate that unless the person, I think, is ready. And I don't know how that works. I really don't. And that's where that's why I do this podcast. To be honest, I don't really know who you are. Like, it's great to meet you, but I didn't go check. I didn't go Google. I didn't go, like, I just didn't. I'm like, I just trust God put you in my life, and what we're going to do is important. And I'm just going to show up and tell the truth and see what happens. And I think for people who with MS, I mean, one message I try to tell people, I say, look, like, you've been chosen. And they kind of like, what? And you're like, yeah, well, that's, I believe that. And I've lived it. And it takes many, many years to figure it out. And I don't think some people do figure it out. But when you do figure it out, you're like, yeah, okay, I get it now. Like, I was chosen, and I was chosen because I have the strength and the discipline to beat this. And then by sharing my story, I help others. That's it. Like, that's it. And I think that for the average person who's diagnosed with MS, I try to tell them, I say, look, like, it's all eyes on you now in your world, just so you know. Like, everyone in your world is now watching you, right? And I'm telling you, maybe 90% plus want you to get better, right? Maybe there's some people who don't, but you got to ignore them. But they want you to overcome. They want you to rise up. And then when you do that, you inspire them. And then all of a sudden your community is like, hey, have you heard this person? They have MS. They're doing great. Maybe you should go meet them. And then it's like it's like the tentacles of your story just start to branch out. And that's just not for me. That's for you. That's for anybody, really, right?
Yeah, we never really know what's the impact that we're leaving. We can only be in charge of our own choices. And that's amazing to say for people with MS here that are listening to us that have kids, for example. Imagine what you're teaching your kids by choosing yourself every single day. Every choice that you make puts you first, your body first, and what you can be for them, for their future.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think you have no idea who you're going to touch. Right? There's a few, but like there's going to be people you're going to find down the road and be like, wow, like that happened. And, one thing I talk about too, I say, look, if you have MS and you're watching this, people are like, when's there going to be a cure? When's there going to be a cure? I'm like, okay, if there was, let's just say tomorrow they release, there's a cure. Is that going to change the way I am? No. Like, no, my body, like, if all of a sudden I'm going to start eating differently, nope. Am I going to start working out? Nope. Why? Because MS is just one thing that can happen to me. So, I could be facing obesity in a year and a half. I could be facing, another disease or something else. And if I'm no longer pursuing optimal life. So like, I'm not waiting for that day. I'm just not. And if it does come, I'm like, okay, great. That one problem for me is now taken care of. But I'm telling you, I'm going to have more problems and they're going to keep coming. Right. And I've got to be just kind of like, well, that's great. Like, and I don't really live for that because I think that you're living too much into the future. And that's where hope is a dangerous word, I think, sometimes.
Hope, I agree with you. It can be a dangerous word because it can make people just be like, I'm doing nothing, but I'm hoping. Well, doing nothing and hoping is not going to change anything.
I agree. So and that's where I was just speaking recently on this. Like, I did not come up with this quote. It's from someone else. It was awareness without action is meaningless. And like, I believe that. So it's like, wow, MS Hope, you log on. Oh, look at that guy. He's really healthy. There's the hope. Bang. That's as far as it should go. Go check Facebook. Make sure he's still doing good. That's as far as the hope needs to go. Now it's about, what am I going to do? Like, what did he do? How did he get there? Right. And then it's about the roadmap of, okay, he did this, he did this, he did this, or she did this, and then start implementing. If you choose, it's totally up to you.
Yeah, it's totally up to each one of us. And there are things to do. Like, oftentimes our choices are outcomes of, underlying thoughts and beliefs we're not aware of. So there are things to do, but in the end of the day, the choice is always going to be up to us. So that's, I'm sure that at least a few people are going to wake up after this and say, okay, that's it. Now I'm going to do all those things I always knew I should have. And now I'm going for it.
But choice, I think and I love that you said that, because choice is the most, it's just, I don't know how you get people to wake up to that. Like, it's, I had to wake up to it too. Like, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I had to learn this, right? I had falls and big time issues and whatever, like anybody else. But it's when you get there and you realize that it's a choice. It's just a choice, and that's with, I hope that makes sense.
It does. I think actually that awareness is what allows us to choose, because when you don't know, let's say the example of the sugar that I gave earlier. If I don't know there is sugar in those items, I'm not really choosing whether or not to consume sugar right now. But if I care enough to learn, because I care enough about my body and I care about enough about my health and future, now that I do have the awareness of what's right and what's wrong, every time I'm going to be right before taking anything, I'll have the choice. I'll have the ability to make the choice that is right for me, or to choose what I used to do before and consciously choose something that is not good for me. But I'm not choosing unless I'm aware. Right,
exactly. And then I think it's about also, once you've made those choices, like, give yourself a pat on the back. Like, I think you can celebrate your mini wins, right? Just be like, I cleaned the dishwasher. Awesome. You did it, high five. And then you move on. And I think that I talk about this in context of relationships a lot, where I think one thing that our society, our world that we currently live in, you get report cards up to university or post-secondary, however, and then they end. And then you have evaluations at work, I guess, every so often. But don't you think it would be great to have evaluations weekly? I go to my kids and be like, hey, what can I do to be a better dad? Can you at least give me some guidance? Or you're just guessing, right? And I think that these things are really important, because you got to be petitioning the people around you and yourself of what can I do to elevate? I'm here today, but what would it be like to what can I do to elevate the experience for everybody, and me too, right?
Absolutely. The check-ins. You can choose to do it as part of your meditation. It doesn't have to be a big deal. I'm closing my eyes and breathing before I'm going to bed. Look back, reflect, plan the tomorrow.
Totally.
How can I take it step up?
Yeah, I agree with you. And can I share one anecdote about this and what you just said about how it doesn't have to be a big deal?
Of course.
Because we had these berries in our house going bad. They were just kind of those frozen berries that started, they were just out for too long. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make a gluten-free cobbler. So I did. I made a thing for the family, and everybody was just super happy. And I was thinking about it, and I was watching them, and I'm like, you know what? If I say my next movie, if whatever it comes out, if I would have come home and had a big red carpet or whatever, and a big standing ovation, this family would not be happier than they are now. Right? They would actually probably be whatever, what are you going to do? We got all this rotten fruit, right? And it really made me think. And I really thought about it. I'm like, you know what? Making this cobbler has made me and my children and family so much happier than all these big things that I sometimes focus on or think about. And are those even big? right? It's those questions that at this stage in my life, I really think about. And that's where people who are watching things like this, like, yeah, there's a big movie that got me to where I am talking to you. Right. And like, but it's like, you don't need to do that to have an incredible life. Like, you just don't need to. In fact, that movie had more problems for me in many, many ways that like were really problematic for my life versus the little things that you can execute to elevate.
And yet what I'm hearing is that you're choosing to see the positive that came out of it. And even our thoughts, because they do affect how the MS is showing up for us every day in our lives. And hearing, I don't know where you were when you started your journey, if you were thinking in that way, or it's something that you grew to learn and practice on a daily basis. But it's inspiring, because it's not, when it comes to MS, when it comes to any other autoimmune disease, it's a whole package. It's a lifestyle. It's a choice of life. It's not just a diet. It's not just a meditation. It's not just let's celebrate the wins or look at things in a positive way. It's working into having it all. And really, I know some people are going to say, don't even say that, that's stupid, but it's part of the blessing of getting such a wake up call while we're still
Amen.
alive, and we can change our lives for the better.
Yes, it's a gift. And I think, it's really hard to kind of say that maybe in the world today that, I do try to talk about like illness being a wake up call to people. I'm like, okay, so you led your life. I don't care if it's MS or what it is. You led your life up to here, trying your absolute best, and it didn't work. Like, here's what happened, right? Whatever that is, right? Like, I don't care what it is. Like, the equation's not working out. So, well, okay, let's change the equation. Like, if you want radically different outcomes, then you've got to radically change your life. And I know that doesn't apply to everything, so don't. Well, maybe it does. I don't know. I don't know for sure. But I think that's what I've definitely learned. And it took me a long time to get there. Like, I don't want to say in my 30s I even figured this out. It took me a long time to get there, to wake up to that reality. And now it's so much about the dishwasher. I'm not even joking. Like, I try to tell people that. I'm like, oh, I don't get it. And I'm like, no. It's like, if I can execute that dishwasher, like I'm in a good place.
And let's connect it even to, the steps that people take to heal their body. Don't look for, reversing everything to see a win. You ate a good meal. You already took outside of your diet something that was not healthy for your MS. That's a huge win. It's not just the end of the journey. Enjoy every step. Be proud of yourself. That's a big change.
I agree.
Big change.
I agree. It's the micro wins and the micro celebrations, right? And I think I really believe in that. And I think if you live for those big wins and the big celebrations, and you live like, for lack of a better term, I think you're almost dealing with some sort of addiction, and that takes you out of the now, and that takes you out of the living day to day and like in the moment, and you're living for the future in hopes that there's going to be some big moment, right? That,
Yeah, I totally get you. That's actually part of my personal journey too. I was living proof of that addiction.
Yeah, I mean, it's a serious. I mean, a lot of people don't talk about that, but addiction is a major problem. And again, you look at your school system. You go back and you go, okay, how did I start living for tomorrow and not for today? Well, that starts pretty young. Right. It starts pretty young. You start being taught those things like, oh, tomorrow is going to be great. Or, just wait till Christmas. It's going to be incredible. Wait till your birthday. And it's like, instead of like being, hey, isn't today like absolutely incredible? Like, can you believe the dishwasher washed dishes? Like it's those little mini miracles that you just stop losing track of. Right. And then you're just living for tomorrow. You're living for success. That doesn't really mean much. And then you end up hitting the bottom. I think a lot of people do. And then you got to rebuild, but that seems to be part of the journey.
Absolutely. So many words of wisdom in this interview. I'm so happy that you have the opportunity to share your experience, your knowledge, and make such a difference in people's lives. I truly enjoyed the time with you here.
Well, to praise God. I mean, again, I truly believe that I'm a messenger. And I think I don't know where my thoughts come from, and I don't know if you do either. So if you did, I think you'd be pretty famous. You'd write a big book, because I don't know. And so I think, praise God that I've been given, I just keep trying to speak the truth, and that's, I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but by doing that, I hope to elevate, God and you and the people who listen.
And I'll just say that I think we're creating our thoughts, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll get
I don't know about that one. Yeah.
Whoop, I lost my headphone. Matt, thank you so much for your time. I'm looking forward to doing some more things together again in the future. I hope everybody who listen to us will take the amazing words that you shared to heart, and everybody who listen, take action now. Take this one little advice. Take action now. Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you.